Hi everyone, it's Gina and welcome back to my channel. This is my audition for Graphic 45 2024-25 Brand Ambassador. And I'm going to be using Graphic 45's Interactive Folio album. So when you get this album, it has a magnetic closure. And then it comes with 2 waterfalls, 2 pockets, 2 larger envelopes, and a large fold out. And then I'm going to be using the Beach is Calling. I have the tags and frames, the ephemera assortment, I'm excited to try the rub-ons. They are just new out. The cardstock sticker set. I do have 8x8. I'm not sure if I'm going to use any of that. And then I have the 12x12 collection pack. As you can see, it's just beautiful images. The postcards. And then I'll also be using the Patterns and Solids 12x12. To get started, you're going to grab your interactive folio album and you're going to grab both of the large envelopes out. Then you're going to need some ink. I'm using Graphic 45 Natural Linen. You're also going to need to grab your rub-on transfer set from the Beach is Calling. From the 12x12 Patterns and Solids, you're going to want to grab this sheet here. And you want to cut 2 pieces that are 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. So then you want to grab your envelope and find the center. And I die cut an oval out. Same thing on your pattern paper. You want to cut both of them with the oval in the middle to fit around the oval on your base page. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of transparency. And they are 5 by 7 1/2. So I already did one of the envelopes. So that's what we're going to be doing on the other side. Only we're going to use different images. Then I just ink around the inside circle on both sides. Okay, once you have them all cut out and inked, you're going to set that aside and one of your pattern papers. Then you're going to need some clips and a piece of your transparency. So I'm just going to line this up on the back and clip it in place. Then you want to grab your rub-ons. So on this one, I'm going to choose this quote. So I just cut around mine. Then you just place it on top of your transparency kind of where you want it. Rub it on. Then usually I'll just move the clip. And finish rubbing down whatever parts I might have missed. So then I grab some double-sided tape. Put it on the back of your pattern paper, keeping right around the frame. Then anywhere the double-sided tape shows through, I just trim off. Then remove your backing from your double-sided tape. So then you're going to check which way your design is. You're going to grab your transparency. And then you want to put your picture side of your rub-on onto the back of your pattern paper. Then I go over the transparency with double-sided tape again. Then remove the backing from the double-sided tape. You want to grab your envelope. You want to make sure your opening on your envelope's up. And I'm just going to add a little glue. Then I'm going to center it on my envelope. And the first part of my envelope's done. Then we're going to flip it over. We're going to grab our piece of pattern paper and our transparency, line them up. So then you're going to choose which rub-on you're going to use. You want to slide your rub-on where you want it. I think I'm going to put that one about right there. So then I'm going to cut out beach days. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to add some double-sided tape on the back of this one. So then you're going to want to make sure that your pattern's up. You're And grab your transparency and center it. Then you want to put more double-sided tape on. Then you want to add just a little glue. You're going to grab your envelope. Center it. Then with that Beach Days rub on, I think I'm going to put it right there. So now our page looks like that. So then we can put 2 photos in. So here are our finished photo mats. So next you want to grab the 2 smaller pockets that came in your folio. You want to choose some pattern paper, and you want to cut 4 pieces at 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. You're going to need your rub-ons. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of transparency at 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. Taking my pocket, and I went in a 1/2 inch on each side and up a 1/2 inch. And then I placed my die on, and then I cut around it. But I didn't want to cut through both sides of my envelope. So this little cutting mat just happened to fit in here perfectly. I already have done. So then I also cut an oval in my pattern paper. I did it 1/8 wider than in my envelope. And then I saved the middle because I'm going to center that inside my pocket. And it's just the back of this one. Then I'm going to set that aside, add score tape to my pattern paper. So then I'm going to take one of my transparencies. I'm going to center it and clip it on. So I'm going to be using the little umbrella and lawn chair rub-on. I'm going to place it about right there. Start rubbing it on. So grab your pattern paper. Take the backing off of your tape. And then grab your transparency. And you want to evenly place it. Then you want to go back over the edges with some double-sided tape. So now you're going to grab your pocket and your center piece. You're going to apply glue to the back of your oval. You want to slide it in and center it. So now you want to grab your transparency and remove the backing from the double-sided tape. You want to add a little glue. Then you want to center it on top of your pocket. You want to turn your pocket over, grab your other piece of pattern paper and apply glue. You want to center it on the other side of your pocket. And you can just grab a circle punch. You want to do the same thing on your other pocket. So now you want to grab your folio and you want to open it. You want to cut your piece of pattern paper at 5 7/8 by 8 3/4. You want to grab your pocket with your hinge on this side. And then from the chipboard, I'm going to be using To the Beach, and you'll need a brad. I cut a circle and I punched it just a little off center and put just a little bit of chipboard on the back. You want to grab your pocket. You want to line it up to the bottom of your pattern paper and turn it over. You want to glue it down. So grab your piece of chipboard and figure out where you want your closure to just hold the envelope down at. And I usually just mark through my little brad hole. And you want to put your brad through the hole on your pattern paper. So then we're going to put glue on the back of our pattern paper and on the back of the hinge. Grab your book. You want to center this on the opening cover. So now we're finished with this page. We're going to go to this side. And we're going to cut another piece of pattern paper at 5 7/8 by 8 3/4. You want to ink around it. Apply glue to the back. Center it. And then I have this piece from the ephemera pack, this little surfboard. And I traced it onto a piece of one of my scraps. That way you can do journaling on the back. But I have a little magnet. So I'm going to kind of figure out where I want it. I'm going to make it so it's removable, but it peeks out. So I'm going to grab some double-sided tape. Now I'm just going to put a little more double-sided tape over it. Then I'm going to apply glue. And I want to take my pattern that I cut out and put it on the back. And I'm going to go in and ink it. That way you can still add a picture and just put this over it. Okay, so then you're going to open up your folio, and we're going to work on this inside cover. You're going to need to cut another piece of pattern paper at 5 3/4 by 8 3/4. So then you're going to need your other finished pocket, your smaller ones, and the flaps on this side. And then I'm going to be using this little chipboard tag. I punched the hole in it. And I'm going to need a brad. So then I'm just going to take some chipboard. You don't need it very big. I'm going to line it up where I punched the hole and mark it. I'm going to put a little glue on it. Stick my brad through. So then I'm going to take my piece of pattern paper in my pocket. I'm going to line it up with the tab being on the back side of my pattern paper. I'm going to line it up all the way to the bottom. Add some glue to the hinge. Then add glue to the back of your pattern paper. You want to grab your book. Well, I put glue on mine and I forgot to add my brad, so I got to do that really quick here. You want to center it on that back page. So now we have our little pockets added. You want to choose some more pattern paper. You're going to cut 2 at 6 by 8 3/4. You're going to ink around. And then for the spines, I cut 2 at 1 3/8 by 8 3/4, and I inked around. So you want to glue on your spines and your front and back pattern paper. Okay, once you have your cover and spines on, you're going to open it up. You're going to grab that large pocket that we made. And I put double-sided tape on both sides of my hinge. Then you want to cut 2 pieces of pattern paper that are 1 1/8 by 8 3/4. Instead of using pattern paper, I decided to make a little film reel. I used just a punch and punch this out. To get your pocket pages even, if you center it on your piece of pattern paper, it makes it a lot easier to glue it in and know you're centered. So what I do is I'm going to glue it to the right side of my paper. So I had score tape and I'm adding just a little glue. You want to grab your piece of pattern paper. I usually set mine down on the table to make it perfectly squared off. Then you want to center your piece of pattern paper. Just make sure you get it stuck down real good. Okay, then on your folio, there's a, where they glued in the center page, there's a line right here. I'm going to line my pattern paper up with that line. Take any backing off of any double-sided tape. Add some glue. Okay, then I take my book, and I've already put this side in. So it looks like that. And I fold the page up. And then I make sure and I put my pattern paper all the way to the crease and to that bottom line. Then burnish down real good. So now we have our flaps glued in. Okay, so now we're ready to start on our center. We're going to grab that large fold out. And we're going to cut 4 pieces of pattern paper that are 4 1/4 by 5 3/8. Then we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 5 1/8 by 8 1/4. Then on this flap, we're going to cut this image from the paper collection. And then I scored these 2 sides at 1/2 inch, and this side I scored at 5/8. And then I clip the corners. And then I cut a piece of pattern paper that is 5 by 6 1/4. Then for my inside flaps, I cut a piece of pattern paper that was 5 and 8 1/4. And then for the middle, I cut 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. Then I'm going to add this waterfall, and I'm going to add this image right on the top. I cut it from the paper collection. I cut 2 strips at 1/2 inch that I'm going to add to my tabs. And then I cut these little word strips from the paper collection and this little seashell strip, and I cut them to fit my waterfall. Now I'm going to line my waterfall up with the top of my pattern paper. And then I'm just going to mark where it's a little longer than my pattern paper, and I'm going to trim that off. So it's not much of a difference. So I'm going to glue all of my pattern papers in, and I'm probably going to be fast forwarding. So then you want to take your large fold out after you have all the pattern paper glued in. You want to apply glue to the back, being careful not to get any on the score lines. Then you want to center it in the middle of your book. You want to burnish down. So then you want to take your waterfall. You want to apply glue to the back. Then you want to center it in the center of your book. Being careful not to get it on your hinge. Burnish down. So then to finish off my middle flap, I chose this frame from the chipboard tags and frames, and I put a backing on it and made a little pull-out. My pull-out is 3 by 4 3/8. Then I cut this from the paper collection, and I scored it at 2 3/8 and 8 inches. So I'm going to put some glue on each edge here of the strip of paper. And I want to center this on. Burnish down to make sure you get a good hold. And I'll just slide it on. So this will lock this middle flap closed. I just realized I put my photo mat in wrong. But I did add, for a pull tab, 2 of the stickers from the sticker sheet and a rub-on to the center. So I'm still working on the front. And I cut this image from the packaging of the collection pack. Then I'm thinking of adding this chipboard frame and this little chipboard frame. And this little chipboard piece, I added transparency to the back and a rub-on to it. And I'm going to layer that right over the little one. And I did the same thing on this larger chipboard piece. And I'm going to layer that also on top. So you will have to come back and watch my walkthrough to see how I finished my album and anything I added to the inside. Thank you for joining me today.